few of the items will be, we have to combine where we have to prepare notes to accounts and show in the exact format of balance sheet, which starts from equity and liabilities. Wherever necessary, we have to prepare a note for it and we have to show in the balance sheet. So if you prepare a note, or if you can write directly if there is only one item. So here there are only one item, creditors. So it comes under what? Current liabilities under the heading trade payables. Hello everyone, I am Harshita, lecturer, Department of Commerce, Vidhyaashram PU College, the Temple of Excellence, Mysuru. My dear students, today we are in the third session of your chapter 3, that is from part B, financial statement of a company. So in a previous class, let us quickly recall what we have discussed. So we have discussed problems on statement of profit and loss. Hope you remember the format. So how would be your format of profit and loss account? So Roman number 1, that is first one is revenue from operation, second other income, third total income, fourth expenses, fifth profit before tax, sixth tax expenses, and seventh profit after tax. So hope you remember. You can go through the previous session and see what are the problems that comes under statement of profit and loss, and a very important problem for 6 marks. So in today's session, we shall discuss about 6 marks problem on balance sheet. So most of the time, if you see this chapter, so your weightage of this chapter will be, there will be 1 mark, 1 question, 2 marks, 1 question, as well as 6 marks, 1 question. So your 6 marks question, normally they'll ask a problem on statement of profit and loss. So go through that problem, children. Very easy problem. Just you have to go through the format, as well as you have to know how to prepare the notes to accounts to that particular statement of profit and loss. So in today's session, we shall continue with 6 marks problem on balance sheet. So already we have discussed in the second session, that is what is the format of balance sheet. So what is the format? First is equity and liabilities. Under that, shareholders fund, we have share capital, reserves and surplus. And the second one is non-current liability, and the third one is current liability. Coming to assets, we have non-current assets. Under that, fixed asset, tangible asset, intangible asset, and the second one is current assets. So this will be the format of balance sheet. So you can go through the session and recall once again. Now we shall directly go through the solution. 6 marks problem on preparation of balance sheet. So from the following information, prepare balance sheet of Jindal Company Limited as on 31st/3/2023 as per Schedule 3 of Companies Act 2013. So I have told you this chapter is wholly related to financial statement of a company, which is prepared under Schedule 3 of Companies Act 2013. Okay, so we have part 1 and part 2 where we are going to prepare statement of profit and loss and balance sheet of the company. So go through this. So we have share capital 10 lakh, reserves and surplus 5 lakh, 10% debentures, that is 5 lakh, creditors 2 lakh, bills payable 3 lakh, fixed asset 15 lakh, trade receivables 5 lakh, short-term investments 2 lakh, cash and cash equivalents 3 lakh. Now here, few of the items will be, we have to combine where we have to prepare notes to accounts and show in the exact format of balance sheet, which starts from equity and liabilities. So under equity and liabilities, we can write the first one, that is share capital. Next is reserves and surplus. And a non-current liability, that is 10% debentures. And current liability, here creditors and bills payable can be combined together, where we have to prepare a note as trade payables, where you have to prepare a note for these two. This comes under current liabilities. And the next is non-current assets. Under that, we have fixed assets. So this fixed asset comes under the heading non-current assets, and trade receivables and short-term investments. So these are current, even the cash and cash equivalents. So trade receivables you have to show under current assets. Short-term investment, so it comes under short-term investments only, so that comes under assets, and cash equivalents, which has to be recorded under current assets. Now let us go through the solution here. So I'll write the solution like this: Jindal Company Limited balance sheet as at 31st/3/2023. So your format will be particulars, note number and amount. So I have told you, you have to start your balance sheet with equity and liabilities. Under that, the first one is shareholders fund. So under shareholders fund, we have share capital and reserves and surplus. So I have told you, so your share capital and reserves and surplus comes under the heading shareholders fund. So share capital, so how much it is? 10 lakh, and reserves and surplus is 5 lakh. Now coming to non-current liabilities, so this 10% debentures, so you can't directly write 10% debentures in your format, for which you have to prepare a note. So how do we write the note? So under non-current liabilities, second one, long-term borrowings. So you, instead of writing 10% debentures, you have to write under the heading, that is long-term borrowings. Let's see how we have to prepare a note for it. So you will write like this. This also, notes to accounts also carries marks. So note 1, long-term borrowings, under that we will write 10% debentures, 5 lakh, and total it is 5 lakh. Now this is note number 1. So you have to show in the format, long-term borrowings, note number 1, 5 lakh. Next, current liabilities. So current liabilities, we have two items here, that is creditors and bills payable. So this can be written as note 2, trade payables. Under that we have to write creditors and bills payable. So let's see how we have written the note. Yes, so note 2, trade payables, where we have creditors and bills payable, 3 lakh, total it is 5 lakh. So this 5 lakh has to be shown in your format. Current liability, trade payable, note number 2, 5 lakh. Rest all the items, here we have fixed asset, trade receivable, short-term investment, cash and cash equivalents. All these are assets that comes under asset. Okay, so now we have to total. So total is 25 lakh. So hope you are clear with this. Certain items comes under few headings for which we have to prepare a note for it. Okay. The second is assets. Under that, the first one is non-current asset. Under that, the A is fixed asset. Fixed asset they have given us directly, that is 15 lakh. So no need to prepare the note. You will write directly fixed asset 15 lakh. And the first one is tangible and intangible. So you can segregate them into tangible as well as intangible. So they have not given you separately. So you can just leave the blank here. And the next one is current assets, where we have, see the question here, trade receivables we have. So you can write it directly. One more is short-term investment, for which you have to prepare a note. Okay, so how do you write short-term investments? Under the heading, that is under the note current investment, where we have short-term investment. So this will be note number 3. So you have to show this. So under current assets, note number 3 is short-term or current investment, where you are going to record short-term investment comes under current investments. And the next is trade receivable, they have given us directly, and cash and cash equivalent they have given us directly. Now you will total. So total should be how much? 25 lakhs. So the total of liability should be equal to total of assets. So this is how you are going to solve a 6 marks problem. Very easy. Just you have to know the format of it. So what do we record first? Equity and liabilities. Under that, shareholders fund. Under shareholders fund, we have share capital, reserves and surplus. And the second one is non-current liability, and the third one is current liability. Coming to assets, we have two types. Non-current assets, where we have fixed asset. Under fixed asset, we have tangible and intangible. And the second one is current assets. So here you have to be careful. Short-term investment comes under what? Current investments. And trade receivables. So under trade receivable, you have bills receivable and debtors. So that comes under trade receivable. And cash equivalents, they have given us directly. So trade receivable, easy to remember. In your trade payable, what you are going to write in your trade payable? Under trade payable, it is creditors and bills payable. Under trade receivable, it is bills receivable and debtors. Okay, so these are the two items for which you have to prepare a note for it. Okay, so moving on to the next problem, similar type of problem on balance sheet. Go through the problem here. From the following information, prepare balance sheet for the year ending 31st-3-2023 as per Schedule 3 of Companies Act 2013. Now here they have given us few items. Wherever necessary, we have to prepare a note for it and we have to show in the balance sheet. So inventories. So this comes under current assets. Equity share capital, so it comes under shareholders fund. Plant and machinery, non-current asset it is. Preference share capital, so equity share capital and preference share capital can be combined together, which comes under shareholders fund. General reserve, so it also comes under reserves and surplus. And creditors, so creditors, where do we record? Under trade payable. Okay, so provision for taxation, they have given land and building. So land and building comes under a non-current asset, cash at bank current asset, 12% debentures, that is long-term borrowings. Okay, so these are the few items they have given, for which wherever it is necessary, we have to prepare a proper note for it. Okay, now go through the solution. So how do you write the solution? Balance sheet as at 31st/3/2023. So your format is particulars, note number and amount. As usual, you will start with equity and liabilities. Under that, first one, shareholders fund. Now for share capital, so we have to prepare a note for it. So share capital, we have equity share capital and preference share capital, which has to be combined under the note, that is share capital. So let's see how we have to prepare a note. So note number 1, share capital. So equity share capital and preference share capital, 16 lakh plus 6 lakh, that is 22 lakh. That comes under the heading share capital. So you have to write share capital note number 1, 22 lakh. And the next one is reserves and surplus. This is note number 2. So reserves and surplus, what we have here, that is general reserve. That comes under reserves and surplus. So you have to prepare a note for it. Reserves and surplus, under that general reserve 6 lakh. So you have to write directly note number 2, 6 lakh. Next, non-current liabilities. Under that we have long-term borrowings. So but they have not given us long-term borrowings directly. So 12% debentures they have given. So this comes under long-term borrowings. You have to write a note for it. So let us see note number 3, long-term borrowings, 10% debentures, 12 lakh. Okay, so you will write here long-term borrowings note number 3, that is amount. Next one is current liabilities. So current liabilities, so what are the current liabilities we have here? That is creditors. So creditors is current liability. So here also we have to prepare a note. So current liability, creditors is written under the heading trade payables. So that is note number 4. So note number 4 is trade payables, creditors 3,50,000. So I'll write the amount 3,50,000. And the next one is short-term provisions. So short-term provision also, it is also one of the note here. That is short-term provision, provision for taxation. So it comes under short-term provisions. So you'll write that short-term provisions. So we have provision for taxation 2,50,000. So short-term provision is 2,50,000. If you total, that is total it is 46 lakhs. Remaining are all assets. Okay. So coming to the asset side, the Roman number 2 is assets. Under that we have non-current assets. Under that first one is fixed asset, where we have tangible and intangible. So based on the problem, we have to segregate them into tangible as well as intangible. If the intangible assets are not given, no need to write anything, you will write directly. Okay. So note number 6, we have to prepare a note for it. That is tangible asset, plant and machinery and land and building. So this comes under tangible assets. Okay. Yes. So tangible assets, that is note number 6, 3,40,000. Intangible assets we don't have, so let it be blank. Now coming to the second one is current assets. So what are the current assets we have? So if you see the problem, so land and building is done, plant and machinery is also done. So we are left out with current assets, that is inventories we have, that is current assets, and cash at bank. So that comes under cash and cash equivalents. Okay. So we have to write inventories 7 lakh, cash and cash equivalents 5 lakh. Okay. So cash at bank is written under the heading cash and cash equivalent. So you can write it directly. So the total both the side is 46 lakh. So hope you are clear with this, but you have to remember. So how to remember, children? Normally you will have note to record, that is 8% debentures, or debentures comes under long-term borrowings. Okay, share capital, equity share and preference share comes under equity share capital. So if you see the note here, share capital, we have equity share capital and preference share capital. Under reserves and surplus, we have general reserve. Next, long-term borrowings, normally they'll give you the debentures. Trade payables, I have told you, creditors and bills payable. That comes under trade payable. When come to trade receivable, it will be debtors and bills receivable. Next, short-term provision, whatever provision relating to taxation or any other provisions comes under short-term provisions. Tangible assets, you can easily identify tangible asset, plant and machinery, building, furniture, land, all these are tangible assets. Coming to intangible assets, we have goodwill, patents, copyright, trademark. All these are intangible assets. So wherever necessary, we have to prepare a proper note for it. Okay, so this is about the problem. Now coming to the third one. From the following information, prepare the balance sheet of Lakshmi Company Limited as on March 2021 as per Schedule 3 of Companies Act 2013. So this was a question paper problem. So suppose if you see the earlier question paper, every time they have asked problem on statement of profit and loss. So 1 year they have asked this problem for 6 marks, that is problem on balance sheet. So go through the problem here, very easy problem. Inventories. So under which heading you will write the inventories? Under current assets. Next, share capital. It comes under share capital only, that is shareholders fund. Statement of profit or loss. So this also comes under where? Under shareholders fund, that is under reserves and surplus. Next, general reserve we have, it comes under reserves and surplus. Creditors, this is current liability. Next, tangible assets. So it comes under fixed asset, where we have two types, tangible and intangible. Cash at bank, current asset. 10% debentures, long-term borrowings. This was an easy question. Wherever necessary, we have to write the note for it. But as per, when you solve the problem, we will go through the format. So wherever necessary, we will write a note for it and we will solve the problem. Okay. So coming to the solution, so we'll write the heading Lakshmi Company Limited, balance sheet as at 31st/3/2021. So how do you write? Equity and liabilities. So the first one is equity and liability. It should be in the same order. Okay, so equity and liabilities. Under that, shareholders fund. So under shareholders fund, they have clearly given share capital comes under shareholders fund. So only one, you'll write it directly 1,70,000. Next, under reserves and surplus, it is note number 1, for which we have to prepare a note. Now go through the note here, reserves and surplus. So your statement of profit and loss as well as general reserve comes under reserves and surplus. Okay, so you have to prepare a note for it. Note number 1, 1,20,000. And the next one is non-current liability, where they have directly given long-term borrowings, or you can prepare a note long-term borrowings and you have to show the debentures. Okay, debentures comes under long-term borrowings. Next, current assets. So what are the current assets we have? That is creditors, 70,000. So if you prepare a note, or if you can write directly if there is only one item. So here there are only one item, creditors. So it comes under what? Current liabilities under the heading trade payables. So here I have written it directly. Creditors, trade payable, 70,000, and the total is how much? 4,80,000. Now coming to assets, so we have non-current assets, under that A, fixed asset. Under fixed asset we have tangible and intangible. So let us see what are the tangible. Here they have given directly, correct, tangible assets. So how much it is? 2,50,000, and there is no intangible assets. So 2,50,000 intangible assets will be dash. And next is current assets. So under current assets, they have given us directly. Let us see what are the current assets they have given. Cash at bank, it comes under cash and cash equivalents. Since it is only one, you can write it directly. Cash and cash equivalents, direct amount 1,50,000. And the other current assets is inventories. So inventories 80,000. Since there are only one item each under each note, so no need to prepare a note, or if you prepare a note and write, that is also fine. Okay, so how do you show? Inventories 80,000, cash and cash equivalents 1,50,000. So the total is 4,80,000. So this is a very easy problem, children, for 6 marks. Okay, so normally if you see the weightage of this chapter, I have told you, you will get 1 mark, 1 question, 2 marks, 1 question, as well as 6 marks, 1 question. Normally go through or give importance to statement of profit and loss for 6 marks. Balance sheet, you can go through it because it is also easy. Wherever necessary, we have to prepare a proper note. In the same way, in your statement of profit and loss also, wherever necessary, you have to prepare a note and you have to write in the format. If you learn the format of statement of profit and loss and balance sheet in this chapter properly, then it will be easy for you to solve the next chapter also, next problem under analysis of financial statement, a very important 12 marks problem. So where the format will be same, format in the sense how you are going to write the financial statement of a company. For example, statement of profit and loss. So how do you write? So first is revenue from operation, second other income, third is total income. When you add 1 plus 2, you will get total income. Fourth one is expenses. Fifth one is profit before tax, that is 3 minus 4. Next is tax expenses and profit after tax. So this will be the format of statement of profit and loss. Coming to your balance sheet, so how do you write the balance sheet format? So if you see the format here, here itself you will have the format, correct? So equity and liabilities, under that shareholders fund, under that share capital and reserves and surplus. And the second one is non-current liability and the third one is current liability. You will get the total. And the total of liability should be equal to total of assets. So you know about the balance sheet where we are going to ascertain the financial position where the total of assets should be equal to total of liabilities. And coming to assets, we have assets, under that we have non-current assets. So if you see the format, non-current asset, under that fixed asset, tangible, intangible, and the next one is current assets. So under current asset, you might be having inventories, cash and cash equivalents, trade receivables. So all these comes under current assets, then you will total. So just go through the format properly and wherever necessary, under which heading you have to know that. So for your 1 mark question, they might ask you, so fixed assets comes under which heading? So you have to write non-current assets. So like that, based on the format, you might get a 1 mark question. For example, inventories comes under the head dash. So what is your answer? Current assets. So cash equivalents comes under the head current assets. Intangible assets comes under the head fixed asset. Fixed asset comes under the head non-current asset. In the same way, for liability also they might ask you, trade payables comes under the head current liabilities. Long-term borrowings comes under the head non-current liabilities. Share capital comes under the head shareholders fund. Or reserves and surplus comes under the heading shareholders fund. Or they might ask you, shareholders fund comes under the heading equity and liabilities. Definitely you will get a 1 mark question on this based on the format. So go through the format carefully. Okay, so hope you have understood how you have to solve a 6 marks problem. So hope you know how you have to solve the 6 marks problem. So my dear students, thus we have come to the end of this chapter, financial statement of a company, a very important chapter for 6 marks, 2 marks as well as 1 mark. See you all in my next session with a new topic as well as new chapter. Till then, take care. Thank you.